Hello, and welcome, Beth Chapman, to this, our bridal buyer interview. It's the fourth in our series of Coach on the Couch, and I'm so excited to have you here, Beth. We've had a few technical challenges to overcome today, haven't we?
We have, but we're here.
We are here and delighted to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. Beth, you're joining us from the States, aren't you?
Yes, I am in Connecticut in the United States, which is right on the other side of New York. I'm about 2 hours from New York City.
Amazing. You look so glamorous and fresh.
It's the filter. It's the Zoom filter.
You look
and the Oprah lighting.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, as you know, our Coach on the Couch series has been a series of interviews that I've conducted with some fantastic coaches. We are thrilled to have you on today, and we're hoping to talk about all things bridal retailing and, of course, learn from you. And I want to just start by saying, I mean, you have achieved so much, 18 years in bridal retailing, and you offer a wealth of information. I mean, in terms of your experience and background, Beth, tell us a bit about yourself and all of the different things that you're involved with and cover, please.
Yeah, so I wear a lot of hats in the wedding industry. I refer to myself as a bridal entrepreneur. But yes, I've owned my bridal boutique. It's called The White Dress by the Shore. It's The White Dress on Instagram if you want to follow along. We've been in business for just about 18 years. Prior to that, I had a career in fashion in New York City. So I shifted gears, went into bridal, and have been here ever since. And from opening my boutique, The White Dress by the Shore, I've sort of parlayed it into other careers in the wedding industry as well. I own two other secondary companies, one called Beth Chapman Styling, where we offer styling services and day of wedding dressing services for couples, and Beth Chapman Consulting, where I coach bridal store owners on sales and how to run a profitable business. But I've also moved into other wedding professionals as well, because as we're going to talk about, I firmly believe that once you can sell something, whether it's products or services, you can sell anything. Yeah. And I founded an organization a few years ago called the White Dress Society. I really saw a need for support for bridal stores. You know, for such a long time, we were sort of on islands by ourselves and sort of struggling independently. And I felt really strongly that there should be a vehicle and a way for us to be able to communicate with each other and have a sense of community and share education and struggles and celebrations. And so founded the White Dress Society. So we'll get into a little bit of that as well. And I have some education that I have for bridal store owners and wedding pros that we can chat with at the end as well.
Amazing. So obviously, you know, we've had quite a difficult experience with COVID and the pandemic. I mean, obviously globally, over here in the UK, it's been heavy, and I think we're still crawling our way out of the reverberations of, and now unfortunately heading into autumn, everyone's feeling a little bit nervous about what the autumn and the winter hold for us. But can you just explain a little bit about how the pandemic, COVID, and obviously forced closures have affected yourself over there in the States? Have you had much complication with that? Has it been a lot of pressure for you over there?
It has. I mean, you certainly had, such a difficult time of it. My heart went out to you and our retailers in Canada. It was just sort of this start, stop, just when you got hope, you found out you couldn't open again. And it was just so challenging. We didn't have quite as much of that here. My boutique was closed for 2 months. And we reopened very slowly. We had limited hours, we had limited guests. So it wasn't till we didn't really start to see the needle completely shift back to, like, as I like to describe it, we kind of went from famine to feast. It felt like overnight. So it was, I would say, about July, where all of a sudden, I think brides really felt that they could potentially get married again, with limitations, of course, still here, but we in the United States were allowed to have weddings again, which was amazing. And it just gave hope to the brides that were holding out on buying their gowns. And it was like the floodgates opened, and we have just been bananas, so busy from July until now. But I definitely understand the feeling of how a lot of us are feeling, which is the other shoe going to drop? Is this all going to change tomorrow? When are the floodgates going to close? Yeah. I also think we've seen a shift recently where, when we first reopened, I think brides had this pent up demand and excitement. And so they all said yes. Everyone was saying yes. It was like a miracle. It was like, well, we've been waiting for forever. It was like, you get a gown, And all of a sudden now, suddenly the brakes have started to get pumped, and we're feeling like brides are suddenly entering that sort of indecisive realm again, where they are saying yes, and then all of a sudden backpedaling and saying, I need to think about it, or
I agree.
I have another store that I have to go to. So I think you've been feeling that as well. And I think this is case in point that no matter where we are in the world, we really face similar challenges as bridal retailers. And I think that's one of the biggest ones that we're facing right now.
I agree. And I think we certainly experienced a huge increased demand and this real insatiable kind of thirst for the good times, the yes to the dress moments. Yes. We opened our boutiques. We were kind of really ready to open, and goodness knows we ran at it with a lot of enthusiasm. We had this sky high, amazing, uplift in sales. And of course, now we're sort of coming down the other side. We do head into a slightly quieter season as we go towards Christmas anyway. So I think bridal retailers are definitely feeling a little nervous about maybe the diaries becoming a bit quieter, and certainly about brides' inability perhaps to feel more confident about saying yes to their dress. They're wobbling a little more. Now, one of the things we talked about the other day, which was really exciting, Beth, is I started to talk a bit about your specialist training. And I know you do an awful lot across, obviously, the White Dress Society, your amazing online community. We started talking a little bit about different bridal personalities.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And I started talking about, one or two bridal personalities that I feel we experience. And of course, you were able to confirm that it's exactly the same for you over there in the States.
Yes.
A bride is a bride is a bride, I think. So can we delve a little bit into some of the bridal personalities that you've identified and how that filters into the training that you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two different trainings, one that's specifically for bridal store owners. It's called the Series 2.0. Yes. The other one is for wedding professionals. It's a course called Simplified Selling for Wedding Pros. Both of those can be found on my BethChapmanConsulting.com website. But, I think what we've seen right now, we are still very, very busy here in the States in terms of our appointments being booked, but we're seeing the decisions wane a little bit. And I think this global pandemic has created somewhat of a different type of epidemic, and that's an epidemic of indecisiveness. Yeah. And I think part of that is because there's so much uncertainty in the world. And with so much uncertainty in the world, it of course breeds anxiety. And so these brides have been through a lot. They are anxious. They are so anxious and uncertain. And that's what I think is starting to see come to light. I think I've been hearing from a lot of stores as well that brides are coming back in after their weddings have been postponed 1 and 2 years and saying, I don't know that I love my gown anymore.
We call them wobblers in store.
Yes, wobblers. I love that. I might coin that. So, I think what's happening is they've been sitting for 2 years and looking at Instagram and social media. And with, when I opened my business 18 years ago, there wasn't Instagram. There wasn't social media. Things were a lot simpler then. Yeah. Now there's so much noise and information and inspiration coming at these brides that it's really making them second guess things. And it's giving them that FOMO because they're wondering what else is out there. So I have developed these 7 personality types. So there's actually 7 with the Series 2.0 that are specifically to brides, and for the Simplified Selling for Wedding Pros course, there are 5 personalities that are for all couples, not just brides. But I think one of them that we can talk about right now is the indecisive bride. And how do you handle her and what do you do? And I think the most important thing is, she can be indecisive for a few different reasons. She can be really anxious, like I mentioned, but she could be overwhelmed with all that inspiration. Like she's seeing too much, and it's just all of that is so overwhelming to her. So one of the first things you really need to do to deal with an indecisive client who has that type of personality is help them to focus. Yeah. Ask the right questions and then really truly listen to the answers. One of the things I always say is that you have to listen twice as much as you speak when you're selling. Listening is such a key to selling. And with the indecisive client, it's even that much more important because you have to really hear what they're saying. And sometimes what's coming out of their mouth but what they're really feeling are two different things. But if you're really listening, you can get to the bottom of what her true concerns are. And I think it's important to ask some really important questions. Ask questions like, what's holding you back? You know, I have a video in my training series that's called simply that, ask one more question. It's that when you get to the end and you've asked if this is her dress, if you've asked for the sale, hooray for you. I'm glad you're asking for the sale, but you might get that, I have another bridal appointment, or I just have to sleep on it. I'm not sure. I love it, but, and at that point you have to ask one more question. Ask her what's holding her back. Ask her if she's going to another bridal store, what she might be looking for. Ask her, you know, you can say to her, you know, I've seen your whole demeanor change. What's causing you to have that anxious feeling right now? Become a psychologist, put that hat on.
And I think it's worth saying here at this point that I think sometimes it can feel quite scary to ask what can feel like you're sort of pushing and putting a little bit of sales pressure on the bride. But I'm sure you'll agree that at this stage, Beth, you will have had quite an intimate appointment. You will have built rapport. There would be no question that that bride probably really likes you. You've enjoyed a special time together. So asking that one more question, or coming alongside them and saying, you know, what's holding you back? I can see that you're concerned. Talk to me. Tell me how you're feeling. Asking that one more question isn't always as scary as it needs to be, is it, Beth?
That's exactly right. And, you know, it's really about, selling is about relationships, as we've talked about. And when I'm saying ask one more question, that shouldn't be the point where you start asking questions.
No.
It's really important that you've asked questions all the way through. And we're going to be talking about pre-qualification in a moment, and something that I like to call the pre-sell. And you should be asking them questions before they even come in. So in this relationship that you've developed, this rapport that you develop with the client, you're asking them questions and you're having a give and take all the way through your appointment. So when you get to the end and you ask that one more question, it's not going to feel like you're pressuring her. It shouldn't feel like you're pressuring her.
It won't be like one question out of the blue that you're putting
it's what I like to say is helping her to buy. You're guiding her through the process. And with this indecisive client, more than ever, it's so important that you do two things: that you establish that relationship so that she has trust, because she's only going to buy from someone that she trusts. She's very, very indecisive. And you really have to just establish yourself as an expert. And we're going to talk about that in the pre-sale too, because that doesn't just happen in the appointment. That has to happen in your social media, on your website, before she comes in. But those two things are really key with the indecisive, or those three things, I should say: guiding her through the process, helping her to buy, establishing that relationship, and really setting yourself apart as an expert, because that type of client, that type of personality will not pull the trigger and will not say yes until they are 100% confident in their decision and in whom they're buying from.
And I love the fact that you've highlighted trust there. And in line with what you said earlier on about the impact of COVID and the pandemic, it is such an uncertain world, isn't it, Beth? And everyone is feeling so insecure. So never more than now is it more important for our brides to really feel that sense of trust with us in order for them to feel that they can make that decision. So the trust element's really key, isn't it?
Trust is key. You know, we learned about that like, know, and trust factor that are so critical in selling. And if you don't have those, especially with an indecisive bride, you're not going to get the sale.
Are you going to let us know anything more about any more of your bridal personalities? You've mentioned
yes, I would love to talk about, which I think is something else we're dealing with. We're dealing with this epidemic, like I talked about, of uncertainty and indecisiveness, but we're also dealing with a lot of shoppers. And I have a personality type that I like to call the shopper. And she's a little bit different. She has there is certainly the shopper that's indecisive. And so she's indecisive and insecure, and that's why she's doing all the shopping. But there's also the shopper that has a really big ego. And she loves to look at herself in the mirror, right? She loves the champagne that she's getting and the experience that she's having. She loves all the attention that's being showered upon her. And that's why she's going from store to store to store to store, because she doesn't want this experience and this attention to end. So, and you guys can see her coming a mile away, right? You know who the shopper is.
We had one on Saturday, and one of our stylists was like, she's been to 9 shops. You're like, 9 shops? Oh my God.
Yes.
She didn't buy.
Yes. And she's the one who comes out and she's looking at herself in the mirror, and, you know, she's doing her duck lips, and she's, you know, she's like, I love this. I really love this. And when you're asking her those questions, like, what do you like about this compared to the last one? She's kind of not being very decisive in a different way. It's more so because she just wants to keep looking at herself,
That's
right?
right.
She could stand there all day. So the way that to really deal with this type of personality is to really feed the ego, give her a lot of attention that she's requiring, but it's also really important to try to focus her. But of course, you're going to do that in the nicest possible way, you know, because you've developed that rapport and that relationship with her. You know, you're becoming her bridal bestie. And so you're really going to push her a little bit, but in a sweet way, like, come on, you can't have them all. Which one do we love? You got to love one more than another. And like, you know, break it down. You know, what do we like about the top? What do we like about the back? And then it really what it's about for her is the experience. So it's really important to take her through the total journey with you, what that looks like. First of all, you need to talk about your competitive advantages and give her a reason to stop shopping. You know, let her know that you are the best place to buy your dress. These are all of the things that you have to offer her, your brides. Let her know all of the opportunities that she's going to have to try on that dress again. You know, maybe it's an accessory appointment. Maybe it's a reveal appointment for the people who weren't there. Then it's an accessory appointment. And then, you know, she's going to do bridesmaids. We can pop your dress back on again. And then, you know, the alterations process, because she needs to feel that she's going to have those moments, that it's going to continue to happen. Because part of why she's not committing is when she says yes, these experiences are going to stop for her.
Absolutely.
And she doesn't want them to end. And, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about pre-qualification and allowing her a feeling of being able to shop a little bit before she even comes into your store is going to help her kind of get it out of her system. So she doesn't feel like there may be things out there that she hasn't seen yet. You need to make her feel 100% confident in buying from you and sort of give her that anticipation before she even comes in that this is the place I want to buy my gown.
I love that. Going back, before we go on to the pre-sale, really passionate about helping bridal retailers understand that there is so much that we need to do now before our brides even hit our shop floor, and you're going to explain that shortly. Going back to what we were just saying a moment ago about wobblers, it's something that I'm finding some of the retailers I coach are talking to me more and more about, and asking for advice and some guidelines on what to do when a bride calls up and says, help, I've changed my mind, I think I hate my dress. What do you think? Give us your words of wisdom on how you would best advise if our retailers are facing more wobblers. How would you recommend they go about dealing with that, Beth?
The most important thing is to get her in as soon as possible and get her back in that dress. And that's number one. Number two, you just have to reassure her that this is completely normal. The way that she's feeling, especially in the environment that we're in, everything she's been through, everything that's coming at her and through the media, these are normal feelings. Susie, we're going to get you right back in and we're going to put you in your dress. And 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, my brides that feel this way, put the gown back on and they remember all of the reasons why they loved their gown. You know, part of this indecisiveness and this over shopping, what happens to these brides is it turns into a sea of white. Right? Like they can't remember the back of one, the front of the other, how it felt on them. And so it's been months and months, for some people, a year or more since they've had their dress on. And so it's understandable that it would start to turn into a sea of white in their head and they can't remember what they loved about it. So the best thing is to get them back in, accessorize the heck out of them, and allow them to see why they love this look so much.
And really celebrate them. But you're absolutely right. I say exactly that. 9 out of 10 times, you know, this is totally normal. 9 out of 10 times, there will be no problem. You will love your gown again. And in the very unlikely eventuality that we discover there's a problem, we'll handle that then. So, but I think with the COVID and the pandemic insecurity and everything that everyone has been through, it's to a degree understandable that they're just panicking, actually a little bit, rabbit in headlights on all of this. So I think that's brilliant advice, Beth. Exactly what I would recommend.
I think that the key to all of this is exactly what you're saying, is your first reaction can't be one of defensiveness, and you can't try to convince her on the phone otherwise. But what you can do is convince her that what she's feeling is normal. It's really important in this moment in our businesses, but in these particular instances where we lead with compassion.
I agree.
And we just let her know that what she's feeling is completely normal, and you are here to help her and guide her however this should take. And if she starts starts to ask, what happens if I don't love it? Can I exchange it for another dress? Can I return it? You just let her know we're going to cross that bridge when we come to it. Just come in and, you know, you won't even ever get to that point, most likely.
There is a tendency for us as bridal retailers and business owners to start quoting things like terms and conditions, and to start putting our brakes on ourselves and panicking ourselves as a business owner, because we're starting thinking about, oh gosh, that's an order we've got to cancel, and protecting ourselves, because we too have faced the pandemic and the insecurity and everything that's gone on. It's not been an easy time for us as a business owner, but you are so right. I think leading with the compassion and responding in that compassionate, supportive way is actually the only way to guide and support our brides when they're feeling insecure about their gown, without question. I think that's brilliant advice. So thank you for
the only way. It's the only way, because otherwise they're instantly, a flip is going to switch and you're going to be off on the right foot, and we're never going to be able to work with her and convince her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, that is brilliant. We're going to talk about the pre-sale, and I'm excited for this. The other day when we started to talk about how you're working over there in the States, and we were like, oh my God, it's just the same for both of our businesses, both of our boutiques, and all the boutiques you look after. We started talking about the pre-sale, and this is something that a lot of retailers and business owners here in the UK understand. But can you explain, please, in your very wise words, what the pre-sale is, please, Beth? And what when we talk about pre-qualification and the pre-sale, what are we talking about?
Pre-sale is so important. You know, it was critical during COVID, because in a lot of cases we couldn't see our clients, or we knew we couldn't see them for months. But now I think really feel strongly that it's something that needs to carry forward, especially if we're going to attack head on this situation of indecisiveness and shoppers. Yeah. The idea of the pre-sale is really about developing that relationship, which is critical to selling, before you even met the client. Yeah. You know, selling is a relationship, but with the pre-sale process, it starts as a one-sided relationship where your client, your future bride, is researching you and getting to know you. You know, statistics show that 75% of your brides are going to go on your Instagram and your website before they make an appointment. 70% of brides are going to look at your real bride section of your website, because they want to make sure that the brides in your boutique look like them.
That's great. You know, that's a great stat. Great findings.
Yes, this is a survey that was done by the Knot. Yeah, and 65% are reading reviews, because we know that millennials and Gen Zs like to make decision by committee, right? They want to hear what other people have to say and have reassurance before they make their decision. So this is why the pre-sale is so critical, because they are fully vetting you and checking you out before they even made an appointment inquiry or try to schedule an appointment. They are researching you. And so what you are putting out there on social media and your website is really an opportunity for you. Yeah. It's an opportunity for you to get them halfway sold on you, or more than halfway sold on you, before they even walk through the door.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, we talked yesterday when we spoke, or the other day when we spoke about closing the sale, and it's something that's so intimidating to bridal retailers. But what I train on when I train on closing the sale is that closing the sale is not this lightning bolt that comes down at the very end of the appointment, right? Closing the sale, the process of closing the sale actually starts before the client even comes into the store. Okay. So it's so important that you understand thoroughly and deeply who your target client is, that everything that you're putting out there on social media and your website speaks to them, both with your words, but also with your work, and that you're putting images out there of real couples that look like the brides that you're trying to attract. Because if she doesn't feel confident and comfortable that you're going to be able to service her, she's not either going to make an appointment to begin with. If she doesn't feel seen or heard through your business, even before you've met her, she's not even going to schedule an appointment. Or if she does, it's going to be a jumping off point before she goes to someone else, that she's just going to start here to see what she likes, because she knows that this other store, she really feels like they get her, and that's where she's going to buy her dress.
Absolutely. So we've established that obviously the pre-qualification, the building of the relationship before our brides even hit our kind of through our doors and into our shops, is absolutely everything. I feel really passionately that this is actually the future and the real key to success in bridal retailing in 22 and beyond, without question. What tips can you give, and you know, what can retailers physically do. You've mentioned social media there.
Yeah.
Any ideas about what retailers can do to really drive hard a strong pre-qualification and a strong pre-sell before the brides actually come through and into store?
Yeah, absolutely. Social media and your website, of course, is a big piece of it. But another important piece of it is your inquiry process and asking your potential client some really important questions before she even comes in. So I think it's so critical right now that bridal retailers look at that inquiry process. It's going to be a little more in depth than it used to be, and it should be, because the point of this is that it's that one-sided relationship that we talked about initially, where she's looking at your website, she's looking at your social media, but the second she's made an inquiry or an appointment request and you start to have that conversation, that's where it starts to become a two-sided relationship. Yeah. And now it's your opportunity to start asking questions about her. And I'm talking about questions above and beyond things like, what's your wedding date and what silhouette do you like? Yes. When are you getting married? What's your venue? Like, we want to know, like, what silhouettes are you liking, and give her examples. I want to know, we ask what she's excited about for her appointment. Yes. We ask if she has any concerns, because asking those types of questions are going to help that question. Yes, because, and you never know what she's going to say. Since we started asking that questions, we've gotten some really heart-wrenching answers, and honestly, but they're a gift. They're such a gift, because you can really start to get into the mind of the bride and understand, we've had a lot of brides, which is heartbreaking to me, but our reality, where people have just talked about their overwhelming body images. We had a bride the other day who told us she doesn't even like to look at herself in the mirror. And imagine what a gift that is for the stylist to know that before the bride even comes in.
And more than that, Beth, it is, you're so right. I love the use of language there, that it is a gift, because this is trust, isn't it? And this is the sharing of intimate feelings. And actually, whilst counselling is a big, we're not counsellors, but if we can get our brides to trust us and share their real depth of insecurity, or, the fears that they have, not just about shopping, but maybe about their wedding generally, this brings us much closer to them. And certainly not all stores will be asking this depth of questions. So I think it's very powerful. I love that question, what are you afraid of, or what fears might you have about wedding dress shopping? Because if they get this out there, we know what we're dealing with, and we can come alongside them and support them, can't we?
Yes, it's exactly to your point. Selling is all about relationships. And so it's about building that trust. And the key, though, is you need to make sure that you're doing some training with your staff so they know what to do with that information and how to react to that information, because we have to remember, now that the bride has put that information out there, they're going to expect, as part of that relationship, that you are going to respect that concern and you're going to address it. And if you ignore it or poo-poo it, that can really have a dramatic, as you can imagine, effect on the trust level and the relationship. So, that is so important, as is education. A key part of the pre-sale, I believe, is to educate our clients before they even come in. We forget that what we're doing, we have a lingo and a language all to our own in our industry, especially in the fashion aspect. Our brides don't know the difference between shantung and chiffon, or mikado and satin. They have no idea. So imagine if you go to a doctor's appointment and the doctor just starts spewing off all this medical language, and you're like, wait, am I dying or am I healthy? Right. And so these brides are coming in and you're like, this is shantung and it's a bit of my, and they're like, oh my, it can be off-putting, honestly. And they can make it seem like you are trying to, I don't know, show off, where all we're really trying to do is educate the client. But if we start to do that before, and we prepare them to buy by arming them with the information that they need to help them to make the decision, it's so important. So it's also important to do that education, so that in the pre-qualification process, if you ask questions like, what silhouettes do you like, fit to flare, ball gown, A-line, they know sheath, they know what they are. You're not ask, we hear those terms all the time, so we assume that people know what they are. They don't. So it's really important to educate the client.
Although this was never meant to be a what's the word, small promo for a little app I've created. I'm going to throw this in because actually it's quite timely. I created a little app called Wedding Dress Pro, which I created to let brides know, in line with some stage talks I was doing for the National Wedding Show about wedding dress shopping. And I realized there's quite a lot of information that I wanted to communicate. So I thought, well, I'll just put it on this little app so that when I do this little stage talk, I can then say, go download Wedding Dress Pro. But Wedding Dress Pro is this small app that I've built on Google Play and also on the App Store. But it's got quite a lot of this information in there. And it's not about my boutique. It's simply got lots of information on there that will help educate and kind of prepare brides for their boutique independent shopping experience. So in some cases, what I'm hoping is that retailers may find it useful to make reference to the app so that the brides can potentially download it and take a little look, so that some of this education and some of this information can be kind of passed on to them via what is quite a useful little app. So I think, you know, a little bit of a push for that. Obviously that little app, it's free. It's not a profit making thing. It's just to try and help us sell more in store to our,
and education is so important. It's an important part of, you know, we need to be working to educate our brides, and of course educating our staff and training our staff. And then the last part of the pre-qualification process that I think is really important, it's a little more complicated for independent retailers, but it's possible, is to allow our brides to pre-shop before they come in. So give them a vehicle to view what you have in your store. So depending on your website platform, that might be right on your website. We use Bridal Live as our point of sale system, and through Bridal Live, it's amazing. They have a lookbook feature. If you're not using the lookbook feature, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And we just instruct our brides we give them a link to their lookbook. They go on the lookbook. We tell them it's about 70% of the gowns that we carry in the store, and they can put hearts next to the dresses that they like, and in Bridal Live that gets saved right into their profile, and the stylist has that information. So we do a whole Google questionnaire prior to them coming in addition to this lookbook, and so the stylist actually pre-pulls dresses for the client to try on. She walks into her fitting room with the dresses already pulled. Our closing ratios have gone through the roof because we're able to get right into the appointment, but B, we're starting on a foot where we already know what she's looking for. And it helps so much. And if you don't have Bridal Live and you're a very, very small boutique, you could do this on Pinterest. You can create Pinterest boards of all of your dresses and ask your brides who are coming in to look at your Pinterest board and send you a list or links of the dresses that they like from your Pinterest board. Anything that you can do to get them familiar with your product and get them shopping before they come in, because if they're a shopper and if they're able to get some of that shopping out of their system before they come in, they may feel more prepared to buy and be able to say yes when they're in the store.
And even as you say, Pinterest boards, or even just on Instagram, you know, ping us some pictures of some of the dresses you're loving, whether that's from your boutique or another. The chances are, with collections being so diverse now, you've probably got dresses very similar or like it. And I mean, actually probably better to know if actually they send you, you know, green or black dresses only. Good to know at that stage whether or not you're going to be able to service them with a green or black gown. So
you're not caught off guard. You can, it gives, because think about the poor stylist, if you're not getting that information until the moment you meet them, and then you're expected to go think on your feet after you haven't had any food or peed in 5 hours, and you have to go pull dresses, it's a lot. And so it really allows the stylist to feel prepared and feel more confident themselves walking into the appointment, and feel like they know the bride. And if you've done the pre-qualification the right way, the bride feels like they know you as a store. You know, you might want to take it one step further depending on the intimacy of your store, how many brides you can see, but you may want to have your stylist send a quick video just telling the bride how excited she is, or the owner, and saying, we have these dresses that we pulled for you, or send her a picture or a sneak peek of some of the things that you're showing. Build that anticipation for the appointment, and that's going to help your closing ratio and allow them to be able to make a decision just so much easier.
Yeah, the golden target really for boutiques should be to develop a business where brides have sort of decided that they want to buy from them before they've even stepped foot in the door.
That's it. I think as women, we've all walked into a store, first of all, saw the windows of a store and we're like, I'm going in there. Walked into the store, looked around and said, I don't know what I'm buying in here, but I'm buying something, right? We've all had that.
Yeah.
We need to create that for our brides.
Yeah.
We need to build that anticipation, allow them to think, oh my gosh, they have dresses that are exactly what I'm looking for. But a part of that is education too, because you want to make sure that you're in the right price point and that your client knows what wedding gown costs and what your range are. Those are all part of the pre-qualification process, but get them halfway or 3/4 of the way sold before they come in. And then all you're doing is helping them to find the perfect gown. They're saying yes and everyone's celebrating.
Amazing advice. Okay. We've touched a little bit on social media and talked a bit about pre-qual. Give us your tips, please, if you will, on what you would regard as key for boutiques to really focus upon. I mean, it may just be a roundup of some of the points you've already said, but what would you regard as key for boutiques to really focus upon in order to drive more success and sales in 2022 and beyond, Beth?
I think it's really, oh my gosh, so many things, but I think it's taking a good hard look at your inquiry process. How are you pre-qualifying the bride? Look at your marketing and your branding. And are you truly speaking and looking to attract the right client? Have someone who is not one of your staff members, a friend of yours, scroll your Instagram and have them tell you what they see.
Yeah.
Have them tell you who it is that is the client that you're trying to attract and see if it aligns with who you're actually trying to attract. So it starts there. Mm-hmm. Then really look at your inquiry process. How can you go more in depth in a very friendly way? Like, you don't want to give her a million questions to answer, but what are the key questions that you can ask so that your stylists are prepared with not only the styles that your clients are looking for, but also they are prepared to answer questions of what your competitive advantage is over some of the other stores. I mean, you can ask where else they're shopping. Go ahead and ask it, because then at least you know the taste level and the lines that they're looking at, the budgets that they're looking at, and then your stylist can be armed to just list your competitive advantages. You don't even have to mention the other stores, but at least you know how to be prepared to answer those questions. So definitely work on the inquiry process and the pre-qualification. It's important more than ever to train your staff and really do some role play with them so they know what to do when they get to the end and a bride starts to backpedal or starts to get nervous. They know what to say and how to lead with compassion. It's a muscle that we have to exercise. So make sure you're doing regular training with your staff. And right now, more than ever, it's so important to show the heart of your business. Yeah. So make sure you're putting compassionate posts out there that are really connecting with your bride and letting her know that you understand what she's been through and you know that this is such a challenging time and that you are here to guide them and help them through the process. You want all brides to feel welcome in your store, but they don't know that they're welcome unless you tell them that they're welcome. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you're putting, especially right now, those types of compassionate posts out there into the world for your future brides to see.
I love that. We've talked a bit about brides, and we've talked about, obviously, as boutiques, what we need to do. What about our teams? Because obviously, particularly over here in the UK, I mean, I know my team, they are, I'll put it out there, I think they're tired.
Exhausted.
It's been a rough, they had the emotional upheaval, the physical upheaval. They've come back and dealt with double weddings. They're all feeling a little bit flat and not demotivated, because my team I must say, my team are amazing. And I work with a lot of boutiques who have incredible teams. But motivational techniques, please, or some tips on keeping teams motivated and engaged in the business, Beth, what would you say?
Even the best, most amazing teams like mine right now are exhausted. We are exhausted because even during that period of time that we were closed, there was so much stress, and we were still supporting our brides more than ever and trying to put ourselves out there more than ever so that they knew we were still there. So that was not a break for us by any stretch of the imagination. And then we just went right into it. I think, to keep them motivated is to give them some kind of incentives, have contests, have incentives. What I think is really key right now with this generation that's up and coming is don't have the same incentive for every single one of your stylists. Really ask them what motivates them. Is it money? Is it time off? Is it a gift? Maybe you do a fun little quiz and you find out what their love language is, and that will give you an idea of what they appreciate, right? And what they want. and use that as a motivator. If you win, if you sell this much, or you hit this goal, or you hit this profit level, you get your personalized gift. And then just make sure you're having fun. Try to have time in the day to laugh and have fun and
enjoy it.
Yes, because it's hard, we're taking on the stress of our brides and we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And there's a lot of anxiety right now. So remember that what we're doing is so fun. We are getting to make women's dreams come true. We're helping people to look and feel beautiful. And that's amazing. So many people tell us it's a dream job, and it is. And so we have to be able to take a moment to reflect on that, have everybody go out and get their nails done, or go have wine outside, or do something as a team to do some team building, but also to relax a little bit.
I agree. I think there's some great tips in there. We've got some questions for you, a couple here. Could you give us some words of wisdom for a new boutique? What should she focus on before she launches to the public and opens for brides to come and visit? What should she be focusing on? I mean, that's a big question, isn't it?
It's a big question.
But words of wisdom for a new boutique, essentially there.
New boutique, like I said, first and foremost, figure out who your target client is. Become crystal clear, like identify her, give her a name. Where does she live? What car does she drive? Where does she shop? Where is she getting married? Identify her as if she's literally one person. And then all of your branding and marketing should be speaking to her. Put out there who you want to attract. That is really, really the number one thing. And then, of course, as I just mentioned, really look at how you're pre-qualifying your client, and look at really craft your client experience very thoughtfully. So look at every single one of your client touch points from before you meet them until they say yes. What are you doing to surprise and delight them in every single step of the way? And really craft that experience and train your staff, if you're able to have staff when you open, on how to deliver on that experience and over deliver on that experience. And you'll be so successful.
Brilliant. Well done. Thank you. And another couple of questions say, this is a good one actually, because we haven't talked about brands. How long do you suggest that you try a new brand out for? I'm guessing this is linked. This is somebody called Caroline. Thank you so much for sending that in. I'm guessing maybe she's got some brands in that are not performing. I think this is a performance related question.
It's tricky. I think more than ever, we should see if we can test out brands, and you can even begin. It's a long process. For sure, Carolyn. So for sure, definitely start on social media, do some this or that, have some voting that takes place, then bring the brand in and hype it up and have brides come in and invite brides to help you decide, say, be the buyer with me, help us to decide if this is the right collection for our store. It's okay to say that. And it gets them excited, and it makes them maybe want to be one of the first, which will be amazing. And then once you do bring in a collection, it's really not about time, it's about performance. I mean, I think you need to just, if it's taking you 6 months to even get a return on your investment at cost, that might be a problem. That might be a red flag. And what I would start doing is asking your stylist to ask the brides some specific questions when they're trying on those gowns about what don't they like about it. If they're like, this one's not the one, I'm going to take it off. Just take a minute to find out what they don't like about it. Is it the fit? Is it the fabric? Is it scratchy? Is it heavy? What's the issue, so that you can really be armed with some really important knowledge to know if there's something you can change and work with the designer on, or whether it's something you just have to walk away from.
Amazing. And you mentioned there about your return on investment. You said about a 6-month period. What kind of benchmark do you give your boutiques that you coach? Would you say, I mean, over here in the UK, I think the figure that's often banded around is you really want to be looking to sell 3 times as much as you've obviously bought in terms of unit sales, I'm talking.
Yes.
Would you agree with that? Or for you, is it less or more?
It depends on what time period you're looking at, but what I'm really speaking of is like that 6 months, but from market to market to really look at. And you should try to you want to get your investment back, because you need to invest in either more or buy something new, right? And so if you're not doing that, then that's a problem. And I think one of the key things, and for the store owner who's opening a new store, try to open with as few designers as you can. It's best right now to buy more narrow, but more deeply within, because if you spread yourself too thin, it's really, really challenging. And so you want to, And that way, if something's not working, you could potentially switch it out for something else. So, you know, when you're making your investments, it's really important to make sure that you're getting a return on your investment, and don't just buy something or hold on to something because you are emotionally tied to it and you love it and you love the way it looks. You know, we're all guilty of that.
We love. I love that gown. Why doesn't it sell? I love that dress. And we've all bought them because we want to take selfies of ourselves in them. Actually, not sold them at all. Brilliant advice. One more question on that, which relates, before I ask you to talk a little bit about your training options available and how boutiques can follow and reach you. Discounting to close. Question here: does it work anymore in your opinion?
No, do not discount. You're devaluing your brand. Do not discount. So what you can do is never give a discount. Let me just say that out loud. Do not give a discount. We've even walked away from giving a discount at trunk shows. We instead give like a complimentary veil or a complimentary customization. I would like, as an industry, for us to get away from discounting. So we just had a good example yesterday. We had a mom who was buying a dress, and she said, I brought my other daughter in 3 months ago and she bought a dress too. Can I have a discount off of this dress? And we said, no. One thing that is helpful is that put a discounting policy on your website, because it's a really great thing to be able to say, you may have noticed the discounting policy on our website. We unfortunately don't offer discounts, but what I can do is this. Like, I don't just like to say no without giving her something else. So her response was, you know, I'm going to bring them back for veils and accessories. And so, but I don't know that I'm going to do that if you're not going to give me a discount. So we happen to have something called a diamond card in our store that's 10% off any single full price item, which is something we had years and years ago. We have a bunch of them left over. And so I said to my manager, we don't ever use them. I said, give her a diamond card and tell her that she can use that to get a discount off of both of her daughter's veils when she buys them, because we're grateful for her business. We have much higher volume, much higher margin rather in our veils. She feels like we're giving her something. We're not just saying no, but we're not devaluing our brand by discounting our gowns, and we are not eating into our profitability because we don't make as much profit in gowns as we do in veils.
Okay, great. So we're coming to the end of this amazing interview. So much great stuff covered. Thank you so much, Beth. Tell us about your training and how boutiques can follow and reach you, please.
Yes. So on Instagram, I am Beth Chapman Styling. If you want to follow my bridal boutique, it's the white dress. You can find more information about my coaching and my educational opportunities on bethchapmanconsulting.com. I have a series of videos for bridal store owners called the Series 2.0. It's comprised of 2 modules. One is a sales training that is really designed to put your stylist in front of that training and have those videos train them for you, and then have you just fill in with some additional training, because I know how hard it is in a busy bridal store to find time to train your staff, but I also know how important it is. And then there's a bridal store owner bundle within that as well. So you either can buy them together as the Series 2.0 or buy them individually. And then I have a simplified selling for wedding pros course, whose doors are just about to reopen. And it's applicable to anyone who's in the wedding industry, anyone who's working with brides, because if you can sell something, you can sell anything at any price point. And it really guides you through. There's 8 different modules, from getting in this to the selling mindset to closing the sale. There's this whole module on the art of the pre-sale. There's a lot of great information to really help you and guide you through the entire selling process from beginning to end, to even to getting your clients to sell for you after you're done working with the bride. So it's a great, you can also find that on bethchapmanconsulting.com. And if you want to see any of my styling work or read about my couple of books that I've written, you can go to bethchapmanstyling.com.
Oh, Beth, well, you were an absolute inspiration. You've achieved so much. 18 years in bridal retailing and books and courses and business coaching, absolutely incredible. And for anyone that wants to splash out, you do a retreat, right?
Yes. Oh, I forgot to talk a little bit about the Waitress Society real quickly. As we wrap up, it's an amazing opportunity for bridal store owners around the world. I think if you're coming from the UK and watching this today, I think you're learning that we have the same challenges in the United States that you do there. They span the world. So the White Dress Society is for retailers around the world. There's different independent retailers. There's different ways for you to be involved. We have a free private Facebook forum called the White Dress Society. If you are a bridal store owner, you can request to join. We have over 1,200 retailers in that forum. So there is constant conversation. It's a place to ask for advice, to ask to borrow samples, just really anything, any support that you need there. Then we have another level of support, which is the membership. It's the White Dress Society membership. And as a member, there's all different benefits from having its own private Facebook group. We actually do twice monthly education that are just for our members. And that education sits in an education library by category, whether it's sales, finance, management, marketing. So you can watch those videos back anytime you need that information or use it for training. There's member partners where you get special discounts and products off of people that we partner with. So you can get all of that information at thewhitedresssociety.com. It's only $49 a month to become a member. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's amazing. And then lastly, we do a retreat once a year. And this year's retreat is in St. Pete, Florida. It's May 1st through 3rd. So it's 2.5 days of networking and education. We have speakers from within and outside of the wedding industry, because I think it's really important that we look outside of the industry. The focus of the retreat this year is really on the future. Where do we go from here after what we've just been through? So whether that is scaling your business, selling your business, hiring a new team, we're going into team management. We are going to really focus on how to get your business to run without you. So you don't have to be involved in the day-to-day operations of your business. You can work on your business versus in your business. We're going to do a lot about sales and marketing. So it's amazing. You can get information about the retreat on thewhitedresssociety.com. And we love for all of you to join us in the White Dress Society, because it's an amazing vehicle for both education and community and support.
Oh, amazing. You're really passionate about that, and that really comes through.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. It's helped me just as much as it's helped our independent retailers who are involved, honestly.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being our 4 fabulous, I keep getting confused with coach on the couch and couch on the couch. It's a real mouthful, but
I know.
Thank you for being our fabulous coach today, and for giving us all of your advice, inspiration and guidance there. It's been amazing to meet you and spend time with you, Beth. Thank you very much indeed. There'll be an article that goes out to support this, where everybody can read some of your tips, and I really hope everyone's enjoyed the interview as much as I have today. So thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.